Congratulations. Congratulations to our 12 choristers who will be vested tonight as full members of the Grace Cathedral Choir of Men and Boys. Now, all of us who preach here on Thursdays are always have you in our thoughts when we prepare sermons, but this sermon is especially for the boys in the Choir of Men and Boys. And I want to talk to you about a difficult subject tonight. And I'm not sure, as I think about this, I'm not sure that the adults in our lives are entirely honest with children about this matter that I'm about to talk about. You might even say there's a kind of secret that adults keep from children, and the secret is this. It is possible for a person to waste that person's life. That's something that's totally possible. Your parents don't want you to think about it too much because they want you to just enjoy being a child, but it's important for you to know that. And if you look around at your school, if you look at the other kids in your classes, pretty much everybody seems pretty much okay. But if you go back many years from now, and in many years, you're going to discover that many of your friends have encountered disappointments about how their lives turned out. And this is true of me too. So friends that I have from childhood and from college, I've spoken to many of them in the last few years, and they're disappointed with how their lives ended up being. So this evening, I want to ask a question that is a very important one. And the question is, what does it take to succeed? How can we be happy, and how can we have a life that matters? So it's a short sermon, and I'm only going to talk about two aspects of success. Now, the old Greek philosopher Aristotle said that human beings are political animals. What he said was really, what he meant is that you can, each of you, accomplish amazing things by yourselves, but when you really want to do something great, you have to do it with other people. And so it is important to develop the skill of getting along with others. And at the heart of this lies the ability to forgive other people. Now, Joseph, in the story that we heard the very end of, that Mr. Jones just read the very end of, Joseph was a young man. He had 11 brothers, and his father, he was the favorite in the family. So the father liked him the most and showed everybody that he liked him the most. And Joseph had this other really serious problem, and that was he was having these very vivid dreams. And in one of the dreams, there were 11 sheaves of wheat that were lying on the ground. And the 11 sheaves, his sheaf of wheat stood up, and then the other ones bowed down to his sheaf of wheat. So he had 11 brothers, and the 11 brothers said, "What do you think? You think we're gonna bow down to you one day?" So that was one dream he had. Another dream that he had, which is equally bad, was he dreamed that there was the sun and the moon, that's his father and mother, and that there were 11 stars, and that all those stars and moon, they were all bowing down to him. And so this made things a lot worse for his brothers. And so one day, his brothers were out in the fields, and he went out to join them, and the brothers had a terrible idea. They said, "We are so sick of hearing about Joseph and his dreams. We're so sick of the way that Dad loves him more. We're going to kill him. And we're going to tell him that he was killed. They're going to tell the family that he was killed by a wild animal." And so they had this idea. They're going to do this. And then one of them says, "Wait a minute. That's not right. Let's sell him into slavery, and then he'll never be back. We'll never see him again. Everything will be great." And so that's what they did. There was a group of traders who were on their way to Egypt, and they gave the traders their brother. And Joseph, they didn't realize this. They thought they would never see him again, that would be the end of everything. And Joseph ended up being a fantastic human being. He was so good at everything he did that even though he arrived as a slave and he was in prison for most of the time he was in Egypt, he was so good at what he did, he kept rising up higher and higher in the ranks until he became the person who was in charge of everything. So there's the king, and then he handled everything for the king. And so he was the most successful person. The king was the most important person in all the world, the king of Egypt, but he was the second most important person in the world. And then what happened was there was a terrible famine. There wasn't enough rain, and there wasn't enough food in the land. And so his 11 brothers had to go down to Egypt and ask for food. And so they go down, and they ask for food, and they didn't even recognize it was his brother. That Joseph was his brother. They were asking him for the food. And when they realized, they were so worried. Like, we were thinking about killing him. We sold him into slavery. And Joseph started crying. and told them how much he loves them, and he told him how much he forgave them too. He even said, you may have not done this for good reasons, but God took something that was bad and he made something really good. So forgiveness is such an important thing. And it's so important for us, especially for you as young men, to learn how to forgive. Now, this is something else your parents probably don't talk to you about very much. But, when you're a kid, you live with your family, right? You live with your brothers and your sisters and your siblings and your parents in one way or another. But when you get older, you have to decide how much you're going to see your brothers and sisters and your parents. And there's some siblings that don't talk to each other. And there's some parents that don't talk to their children and children that don't talk to their parents. And so what you do now matters for what kind of relationship you have in the future. So learning how to forgive now is so important for the kind of life you'll have together in the future. Forgiveness is how we fix relationships that get broken. All right, so the second part I'm going to talk about is another essential part of succeeding. And in fact, Jesus says that life is all about the second thing. And the second thing is service. So Jesus said everything in your life is about service. And this realization made Jesus so great that we remember him 2,000 years after he was killed. So when you find a way to serve, then your life has a meaning that it doesn't otherwise have. At our old church, we had a Boy Scout troop, and each week during the Scout meeting, we would say the Scout Oath. So on Wednesday nights, we said this Scout Oath, and I'm going to share it with you. It goes like this. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Now, the purpose of this was to remind us that we are most fully human when we're serving other people, when we're helping other people. Helping should be at the center of our life, no matter what way it is that we choose to do that in the long run. Now, I am saying to you tonight that learning to forgive others, finding a way to serve, succeeding in life, all these things are not just something that you're going to start doing when you get older, when you become an adult. There's things that you are doing right now, and they're at the heart of what we're doing together as a choir. Now, all the things I said, especially true of choristers. There are many things that will prepare you for your future, but almost nothing else is as challenging, as helpful, and rewarding as singing at this very high level. Now, I want to give you a little bit of homework that you can do with your parents. And I want you to do this, something I did recently. I began to look at the long list of accomplishments that our choirmen have on their resumes. They have done extraordinary things. You are singing with people who have won awards, who've made audio recordings, who've composed music, who have sung with the most prestigious musicians of our time. That is what our choirmen are like, and you as choristers will be on an equal level with them. You will be leaders of this choir in the same way that they are. Now, all of you who are singing in this choir will be learning how to be in harmony with each other. You'll have to learn how to forgive each other when you inevitably let each other down. You will be serving God and humanity in the most tangible way, and thousands of people will be moved by your work. You will contribute to healing all of us through the beauty of what you create together. The secret is out. Human beings can fail to live into their potential. We can be cut off from the people we are supposed to love, and some of us never find a way to help others in the way that we should. But those are not the kind of people that you are. I want to conclude by thanking each of you for moving my heart so deeply and helping the many people whose lives will be changed because of your dedication.